say. The body sunburns gold on the sidewalk. Taste the high life, night becomes day. Secrets and lies and your clumsy red eyes. You know you're gonna make it pay in America. In America. I wanna be in America. Something to see in America. Rolling the dice in America. I wanna be in America. Check the back girls driving in the new but caliente chicas. Nobody's fool. The angel from heaven, the sidewalk below. Hey, Mr. President, play it cool. Your devil red lips and your salsa swing hips. Everybody working for a dollar in America. In America.
Hello there.
There he is.
Do come in.
Thank you.
Ah, it's the Japanese look.
And what's your room like? It's nice.
You became a comic almost by accident because you were a drummer in a band.
I was a drummer with a band. We were playing. We were at this club, and it was during the. We had the power cuts. Remember? With all the power cuts. So we were playing at this club, and we doing all that. Not that, you know. Suddenly, power went off, and I stood up on the keyboard. Don't panic! Don't panic! Don't panic! Don't panic! And went to the front of this thing. I said, "We've all right. Which committee man's fucked off with the money and not paid the bill?" And the place started laughing. And then I shouted a few things out, got back on the kit. Then we went back into the dressing room when I realised the power wasn't going to come back on. And we're in the dressing room, and my cousin Derek, who was the bass player, there was three Vaisies in the band, Lee Vaisey, Derek Vaisey and Roy Vaisey, three of them. They had two cousins. He said to me, "Do you know, that's a funny, how did you think of that?" I must have said some ad-lib off the top. I said, because we were always laughing in the van, any road. He said, "We're keeping that in." I said, "What do you mean we're keeping that in?" "Tomorrow night when we play, I'll get the committee man to switch the lights off, and you do that." I said, "You fucking won't." I said, "I only did it because I've had a couple of pints of lager, a little bit of Dutch courage." He said, "Oh, it's funny." So a couple of nights later, we were working again. Don't forget, these are the days when it was £15 between four of us. So, unbeknown to me, Derek had said to the man, "Switch the lights off after our second number." He hadn't said to me that he was going to do it. And then I think I just automatically did it. And then as I walked past there going, "You bastard." Yeah, but we kept it in, then we did a little bit more, then we did a little bit more. Suddenly we found out that comedy groups were getting a lot more money. We could get 50 quid for doing comedy.
Green one, like run the beam, one slack, one's black, one's bald. Hey, hang on a minute. Cracking gag, you love this.
When we're on the road all the time, I spend a lot of time, obviously, in dressing rooms, in hotel bedrooms, And the main thing is to prepare yourself for the evening. So what I actually do is I get the newspapers and I look through the stories. And once I get a story, mainly most people just read the headlines. The little stories, the headlines are good. Your fodder's there.
I've just been reading the paper there. Do you know mobile phones damage your health? Certainly do. You get your bill, you want to throw yourself off a fucking cliff, don't you?
But if there's a fantastic story in one of the other pages, you really have to explain that to the audience. You'd have to say to the audience, did you say, other than go straight into, at the moment you've got like Barrymore's in the news, you've got the general election in the news, Prescott being attacked, and what they're straightforward things to say because they're on the front pages. But as you look through the smaller ads and you see some big star's got an alcohol problem or whatever, then you've got to jump on it.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, the snooker champion, has come off cocaine, so that's how we clear the table.
At the top of the paper I put down, England collapses. The batting has collapsed. So the first thing I wrote down was, I see England's batting's collapsed worse than Daniel Westbrook's nose. People, because she's been in the news all the time about the cocaine and all that, people straight away pick up on that line straight away. And my idea of comedy is one of, don't worry if you don't like what I'm saying, because there's another one coming along in a minute, a bit like the bus service, you know. So whatever's down, S Club 7, they've been dropped from an advert doing Rice Krispies because they were caught smoking the dope. So I put boys and girls, no wonder they've dropped S Club 7 from a cereal advert. I mean, you don't want your kids pouring milk on the Rice Krispies and then going snort, crack and pot, other than snap, crack, you know. So, and the more times I rehearse it, and the more times I, you know, and then Jerry Halliwell again about the weight, you know, everything's in the papers about a weight, so I've written down here, you know, it must be awful if you're that thin that you have to draw knees on your stockings. It's just the way my mind works, you see. Then what I actually do is, when I sort of get something down on paper, like I do, I put it in my books. Now I have hundreds of these books, and each page represents something I've thought about. I put TV adverts, so I talk about the adverts. I put down here, I put down surveys, things about surveys. I put down news, Sunday stories, in other words, what was in the news of the world. I put down who's died and who hasn't died, and if it's still fresh.
Hey, Tom Jones was 61 yesterday. Does that mean Delilah's fucking 65?
Then, other than that, little lines, little gags that are sort of. The fishing boat went missing the other day, and it was just a story in the paper. I put down fishing boat. 6 seamen missing, but the French, they should be all right in the water because the frogs. You know, sometimes little things are cruel, but it's the cruelty, it's the on the edge stuff that I like to do, and people I'm known for it.
Have you been watching the TV? Did you see that fucking thing in Jerusalem where the hotel collapsed, the wedding party? Wasn't that fucking awful? Man, it's a typical fucking wedding party. They never know what fucking floor they want to be on, do they?
If you want to know about what's going on in the news, you need a piss take. Go and see Chubby Brown, because he'll have something to say. And they expect that from me after 30 years. So whatever I do, I've all these lines here, Kathleen Zeta-Jones, Jonathan King, these people, Michael Jackson, they've all been in the news within the last 3 weeks.
Right.
So it doesn't work all the time. Sometimes I can't think of a thing. Sometimes I'm not clever enough to think of anything. And I get on my own nerves then. I'm annoyed that I haven't thought of anything. I might write down, for instance, Jonathan King's charged with something by the police. So I put down Jonathan King. I put down the titles of his songs. Where he's come from. Is he gay or is he not gay? Whatever, you know, and I'll feed off the story.
Ooh la 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 Blanca. That was another hit for him, wasn't it? Jump up and down and wave your knickers in there. Bit of a fucking decoy, that.
And then I'll leave it until he does appear in court. If he gets off, it's still news. if he gets fined or he gets jailed, it's still news. So I'm still there. I'm on the ball. So I never throw them in the bin. I don't go think and then throw it in the bin. I go think and write it down.
You fat bastard! You fat bastard!
The character is one of I've put myself on a pedestal and they're there to knock me down. I like to think it's friendly banter.
Yes, well, we heard you, you're all right, daft cunt.
It's the character. The character that I've developed is an aggressive character. And I like to think I'm schizophrenic.
Takes me 2 hours to make a fucking twat of myself and he did it in about 20 seconds there.
I like to think that's two different people. I like to think I'm Royston Vasey, the sort of inventiveness, the creator of something, you know, what it is I don't know, laughter maker, but the character on stage is one of who the fucking hell are you looking at? And that's why, I mean, don't forget, I can honestly say hand on heart, we've never been to a theatre for 10 years, it hasn't been full to the door. So I must be doing something right. Because you ask anybody in show business, it's all about putting asses on seats. It's not about how good, bad or indifferent you are, it's putting asses on, getting money at the door and getting people to leave their house on a cold winter's evening and coming to see your show. The old thing is people say, well, you're never on television. Well, what's television? It takes you, it uses what you've got, then it dispenses with you. You just, you're finished. All your ideas, they pay you for them, of course, but it's called overexposure. And I could name 10 comics you never see on TV now that have all been given comedy shows, chat shows, and everybody only has one brain. You only have so much. We're not all encyclopedias. That's why you have to write them down so you can go back over it. You know, but there's loads of really good comedians, impressionists. Take them. The big break comes. I'm on TV, and after 2 years, they've got nothing left. And that, you know, this business is like for people to say, "Oh, we've seen all that before." This is why I work so hard. I have thousands of fans. You only have to look at the internet. You only have to look at anybody says out about me. My fans are like vultures. They're like rats. They're straight at them. I get one bad comment on my website about, yeah, you're a fat racialist, fucking sexist, feminist bastard. And within you'll get 40 replies straight away say, if you don't like it, switch off your computer. If you don't like him, don't buy a ticket. If you think he's aggressive and this, that and the other, don't go to the show. We're not here for you. You're a miserable bastard. You fuck off. We're happy and we're having a good time. We're going to get pissed and we're going to raise the roof. And if you don't like it, you know where the door. That's my fans. That's how my fans look at it. I spend every single day at my act. And when I'm not doing it, you know, you get these people who are obsessed with the gym. And they have 2 days off the gym, and oh, I feel fat, oh, I don't look right and all that. You get people like that. I'm the same about my scripts. I go on holiday for 10 days. When I come back, I'm saying, oh, I've missed this, I've missed that. That was in the papers, that was in the papers. Oh, I could have said that. I know that'll get her a laugh. And then, yeah, I've missed out. I come back and I thought, oh, fucking hell, I've missed. There was a great news story there. I could have had 10 good lines out of that. Yeah. It's a dedication. I am a workaholic, yeah. I get bored if I'm not. I don't see... It's a drug. That's what it is. That laughter and that love and affection you get back off that audience is a drug.
We love you, Chubs!
People say, well, what are you going to do when you retire? I said, I don't know. I haven't a clue. What did you do before you were a comedian? 1,001 jobs. But I didn't have that buzz, that adrenaline. I didn't see that before I was a comedian.
There can only be one Laurel and Hardy. So somebody had to be a little bit different. It's like when I get talking about Bernard Manning. He was unique in lots of ways,
because he was honest. You know, and I've said this plenty of times. Let's go back to the old days when we called a spade a spade. What's wrong with that? It's humour. It's humour the world over. People from Scotland, Ireland and Wales have never really had any time for us. And we, to be honest, we've never really had any time for them. But humour gets us through. Laughing at each other. When we're laughing, we're not fighting. And I always think British humour has always been cruel, hurtful, sarcastic, but it's fun. That's what we're all about.
These days for me to get a fuck, I have to spike my own drink. Mind you, she did give me a blowjob for my birthday. And the good thing about that, 2 minutes of fucking peace and quiet. I mean, you women are funny. I said to her, you know when I said to you, will you talk to me during sex? She went, yeah. I didn't mean you're on me air, can I put this leg down, I'm getting cramp.
I always say, love what you do and do what you love. And that's why a lot of young people these days want to be comedians, young lads, because they see us on that stage enjoying themselves. You walk on that stage and it can be a disaster after a second. It's entirely up to you. And it depends, obviously, on how uneasy you are with your material. I'm quite confident with my material. I mean, I was reading in the paper yesterday of a comedian in Ireland telling jokes about the McCanns. I couldn't do that. That's not my bar at all. Take my hat off to him. He's got some bottle. I believe in freedom of speech, but it did say in the paper, I mean, it's alleged that people got up and walked out. Well, no comic wants that. It's, you know, we had an incident not long ago where we had a top comedian on a reality show. He says shirtlifter. So what's that? You know, I crack homophobic jokes, but I don't sit at home all day thinking about them.
There's a bloke over here going, Chubby, give us a mention. Such a gay shout. If he ever goes missing, the police are going to have to put his photograph on a tin of fucking Vaseline. Bent cunt.
We're not stood in the Houses of Parliament making a political statement. We're on stage trying to make people laugh. Everyday people, wagon drivers, road sweepers, nurses. We just want people to laugh. I do agree with you. We do have very sensitive people who can't take a joke. I just wish they'd all fuck off.
I'm a little bit upset the wife's asked me to divorce. She asked me for a divorce. I went, you cunt. When you lost your purse, I was there for you. When you crashed the car, I was fucking there for you. When you lost your mother, I was there for you. She said, I know, you're the fucking jinx. Come home the other night, we were having a candlelit dinner. Power gen had cut us off. I had to wait a while for it because the pizza lad fell off his fucking bike. I said, what's brought all this on? Are you after someone? Have you seen a frock? She went, well, I was thinking, if I died before you, would you let my mother ride in the car behind the hearse? I went, I suppose so, but it'll spoil me fucking day.
They say these things, don't they? Say you're either born funny or you have to work at it. I think I've had to work at it, but I was born with a bit of a screw loose because it takes a lot of bottle to stand in front of. There's bar funny. They're standing at the bar funny, and they're standing on stage funny. It takes a lot of bottle, a lot of steel, a lot of nerve to stand in front of 3,000 people, because you know you're only a couple of seconds from disaster. You say the wrong thing. And then, of course, you can be interrupted. You sort of have a routine and somebody shouts out, yeah, fucking fat bastard. They've interrupted your train of thought. Your flow's gone.
Britney Spears has had her kids taken off her. She's that embarrassed. She said, I won't be able to show my bare fanny in a London taxi anymore. Can you remember that? Remember Britney? That's the one who shaved her head to match a minge. She's the one who said, don't cut the fucking cord when she had the baby, then I won't have to buy a car seat.
You know, longevity is a great word for this business, for the comedy business. Longevity is a great word because, you know, you look at all the comics who've been in this business a long time. They've survived because they're fresh, they're funny, they're original. If you've got no imagination, how are you going to get a hard on? I often get asked about the piano, and obviously I was a drummer, I was a musician for years. I was a drummer in a pop group in the 60s, and what happened was I got a phone call one day. Some friends of mine said, we're going to the EBOR meeting at York. Would you like to come along? I said, yeah, of course I would, yeah. So there's 48 of us on a bus, and we went to the York races, and we stopped at a pub at Scaling Down. You know, I can't even remember the name of it now. And none of us could play an instrument. And there's this piano in the corner. And I thought, well, I'll have to do something about it. And next day I went to Hamilton's Music Store, which was in the centre of Middlesbrough. It was our local music store. And most of the musicians who were listening to this will laugh at this. I bought a book called Mel Bay Book on Piano. And that's why, you see, I don't play the proper chords. Any musician will tell, and I certainly don't read. I play by the lug. So if you look at my hands, I've got two very, very small fingers. So people would play a chord like that, but I play a chord like that. So I use the wrong fingers, but it works. And then I think I was about 37 at the time, and people, I was saying to myself, well, you've left this too late. But then this guy came out called Gilbert O'Sullivan, and he was playing what we call vamping chords on the piano, like. And for me, that was like sort of playing the drums on the piano. So I decided, when I bought this Mel Bay book, and I got a few chords off, I started to play the drums on the piano like. Sounds good. And so on and so forth. And then what happens after that is you start looking for things, you start looking for melodies, you hear things in your head and you think, oh, that's nice. You've got away from all that. And then suddenly, to amuse yourself while you're sitting on the piano, you're looking at your keyboard and you start playing things. You think, oh, that sounds nice, but I need something to go with it. And you find things like, they're just lovely, lovely melodies. And I still play the drums on the piano. I still play. But then I started using it in my act. At the moment, I'm working on a song that most of my stuff's comedy any road, so it's like a... What the fuck you doing in a town like this? I'm booking Chubby Brown while you're taking the piss. I know it's a bit like I know it's a bit ragtime, but comedy's like that. Comedy's always been sort of umpa, stick it up, umpa. And that's how the piano, there's so much you can do. So, I mean, I'm not a Jules Holland, and I wouldn't play the piano in front of a great piano player because I know he'll say, the fuck's he doing there? But at least it's, if it sounds okay to you, fuck all wrong with that, that sounds okay. So I pick tunes on the piano that, to me, they spell out the word comedy. I mean, The Sting, remember The Sting? I love that tune. That's one of my favourite tunes. So I've got a little something that's very similar, but it's not the same. So it's like... Typical, like, two-step rag. I really enjoy that. I enjoy playing that. It's better than all that mushy, mushy, mushy stuff, because you can play that all day. She loves me, I love her, she loves me, she loves her, I want her, she needs me, I need her, she loves me, I love her. You can play all that shit all day if you want. I was looking out the window one day and I thought to myself, I was watching the kids playing in the park and I started going... And I thought this sort of reflected the mood. And I thought, hang on, there's something, I've got to get, there's something there. If you think about that, doesn't that sound like kids playing in a park? Maybe it's me, maybe the drugs are wearing off. Nice and quiet, please, especially the drummer. Well, as you know, I first started out on the kit in the 60s with a pop group, but those were the days when you played things like, you know, a 12-bar, which was... Later on in life, when I took up comedy, I'm glad I did, because at that particular time, all that funky drumming came in. And when that funky drumming came in, it was like, I don't know, tapping your head and rubbing your belly. It was like a... And I thought that was brilliant, but you have to be dedicated to do that type of thing. And after all, drums has always been my first love. I still have a kit. After 37 years, I still have a kit in the shed, and I still sit there and go... so forth and so on, because it's a way of getting your anger out. You know, if you're ever upset, you can go in the shed and just bang away, you know. But I say I love the drums. Which store you in? Oh, la 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 la. That's it. When I first seen Blackpool Tower, you know, and I was so impressed, and my dad didn't want me to have a Meccano set, so he told me a fat lad made it. Not even out of breath. It's like, you know, Jane Mansfield and Marilyn Monroe came up here, 1959. Couldn't come to daylight, could they? Are we going higher?
Yeah.
Oh my fucking hell. Why don't you get a step ladder and tie it to the peak and I'll hang by one hand? Bastards. Fucking hell. I've seen this place packed to the door. I'm talking about the beach now. I've seen the place absolutely packed. But when I first came here with my father, this was Disneyland to Northerners. This was our Disneyland. Happy days. We were in Hong Kong at the time, and I think I do explain most of it on stage. When you watch the video, I do explain how it came about. But we had such a good time in Hong Kong, and that was the funny part. You know, when you have the funny parts where you laugh that much, you can't get your breath. We'd done a show at the Arts Centre, and on the way back to the hotel, we decided to walk. It was a lovely, lovely evening. And as we walked past the top road, what they call the top road, the road off the prom, they had a market, and we were walking through the market. And you know, I'll tell you what about the Chinese. They do, when they say livestock, they mean it. There's things there you would never see here. You know, I mean, they had animals in cages, and when people order something, they just actually put the hand in the cage and take its head off and put it in a bag like we would fish and chips. And in fact, I thought of a really good gag when I was there, because the next night when I walked on stage at the Arts Centre, I said, saw a little Chinese lad today, he was stroking his dog, and his mum said, "Don't play with your food," which went really well. So, but that particular night we were going back, and we were walking through the market, and all these little side streets were brothels in. And because the women were trying to attract you in, you know. Because we wore these hats, the baseball caps. This madam was shouting, "You're American, you're American." But no, we're from England. "You come in, bro job. €5, bro job," you know, whatever it was, dollars I think it was, Hong Kong dollars. And I said, no, thanks, pet, if you don't mind. I said, I'm married with kids. I said, I'm taking a rash home, you know. You're calm, you're flocky. Oh, Jesus wept. You know. But they're like that, you know. And I mean, it wasn't just one brothel. You had 40 brothels in one street. And you just got fed up of saying, no, we're not interested, pet. You're all right, we're not interested. Just got fed up of it. And I think it was about the 4th or 5th bar we passed. This woman was adamant she wanted us in. Don't forget there's 6 of us walking along. She said, you come here, you nice girl, you American. I said, no, we're from England. We don't participate. Any road. I thought of a funny line. I said, I don't like women. I'm gay. I'd only walked about 10 yards, and I heard this voice say, "Flock off. You're too fat to be gay." Well, we pissed ourselves laughing. And at the end of it, I mean, when you think about it in this day and age, it's not offensive, is it? Too fat to be gay. And they say, well, you know, the gay community might be offended by it. They won't be. Because over the 40-odd years I've been in show business, I've met so many homosexuals. I worked with Lee Sutton, Frank Fufu Lamar, Diamonds Lamar, Danny LaRue, just to name but a few. And the figures are fun. They put themselves on stage. They ridicule themselves, so they're not going to be offended by it. I think it's only the closet gays that might say, you had no right to say that. We started off in Australia. We'll go to Australia first. Now, I'm doing a comedy club, and it's right underneath the bridge, Sydney Harbour Bridge. And I'm talking to the audience, and I'm telling them that my father, which is true, worked in British Steel that made the metal that built the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And they didn't put me on till about, I think it was 11:30. And I had to get changed in the kitchens. And we had these Chinese cooks in the kitchens chopping carrots and chopping potatoes. And I'm stood there hanging my suit on the fridge, you know, and they're asking me to move across while they were doing burgers and chips. And I was eating all the profits. You know, I went on, did about 40 minutes to complete noise and abuse. The noise was deafening. And a fight broke out. Now to do with me. A lot of Australians, a lot of Brits, you know, drink. One thing led to another. And I said, well, how are we going to get back to the hotel? There was only one door in the club, one door out. And we had to climb out the window. Well, I'm a fat bastard. And I'm trying to get through a window this big. And Richie, my tour manager's pulling me one way. Come on, let's get out. And the bloke who wants me to go back on and do another spot's pulling me the other way. And I've got my goalies caught on the catch of the window. They were just happy days, you know. Over the years, so much has happened with Ireland. I mean, just a month ago, I was sent to do a show in Belfast. And I don't like flying, it's well known. I even talk about it on stage. And we're flying into Belfast. And we're just about to touch the runway. You can see the tops of the sheep. We're just about to touch the runway. Suddenly the plane, woof. Well, I shit myself. Up we went. Now, pilots don't normally tell you if there's something wrong, do they? He only come on and said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry about that. He said there was a service van on the runway. I mean, they don't normally tell you that. Typical fucking Irish. Drove a van on the runway. And then he went round again so he could land again. And it was a windy day. Yeah. I think I was up there thinking, I'd have rather hit the van. And you know, they don't realise how funny they are. Because when I went to change my money in the airport lounge, they had that Bureau of Exchange. I had £100 in English notes. And I said to the woman, could you change that for me, dear? And she went, yes, I can. That's what I can, sure. I said, just as a matter of talking, I went, well, how many euros do you get the pound? She said, it doesn't matter. You've got enough for the weekend. like it had anything to do with it. You know. And then when we were in Belfast, and I wanted to go on the lottery because it was a rollover. And I went to on O'Connell Street, they had like a cabin. And there was a bloke just sat there, flat cap on, wood bar in his mouth, coughing away. I said, can I have a go on the lottery, mate? That you can. I said, yeah. How much is it this week then? And this is exactly what he said. He went, I'm fucked if I know. Does it matter? We got in a taxi, and the taxi driver, because we said we wanted to go back to this hotel, he had to do a U-turn in the high street. And as he's doing a U-turn, there's a car behind. Beep, 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 beep. The taxi driver made me laugh. He opened the window and went, hey, save your fucking horn for your wife. One story, I've got to tell you this. We arrive at a caravan park with its own little club in Scotland. And when we arrived at the gatehouse, because we were given a caravan to stay in, chap said to me, the site manager would like a word with you, Roy. So I went to the office and he said, Chubby, your reputation goes before you. Apparently you can be very, very offensive. Your material is near the knuckle, etc., etc. We went through this whole rigmarole. He said, now, What I would ask you why you're here, because I know you've got a couple of lads with you, and I know you have a good time, and I know you like a drink. We've had them here before, we've had all the bands here before, we've had all the duos, all the groups, and we would ask you if you would just calm it down a bit. I said, you won't get any trouble from us, mate. I said, it's the last thing we need. We need the work. We don't need a reputation of being a bad band or anything, and I'm a bad comic. So, that was on the night. The next morning, the communal showers and toilets were right opposite his office. And I went to the toilet on the morning. And I sat down on the bog. And a wasp stung me on the arse. And I ran out of the bog shouting, "You fucking..." So I'm stood outside this communal shower come toilet, trousers round my ankle, me tadger blowing in the wind. It was a stiff wind. And I looked up and he stood in his office window going, try and talk your way out of that one. You know, sometimes somebody's so funny and they don't mean to be, and you're choking on your laughter. That happened to me. It was a Sunday dinner time. I'll start from the beginning. I'm sat in my flat. Phone rings. Poor Brian's passed away now. He was the agent at the time. Brian said, "Will you do Middlesbrough TUC Club?" I said, "When?" He said, "Today. The comics rang in sick. He's lost his voice." I said, "Brian, I was only there 3 or 4 weeks ago." I said, "The act's going to be the same, you know." I said, "I've only got about half a dozen new jokes." He said, "Well, they'll give you an extra £5." I said, "Right, I'm there now." Straight in the van, straight to the club. Walked in the club. As I walked in, they'd already put my name up in coloured chalk. By popular demand, Chubby's back. Underneath it said, "With the great Enrico." Now, if you're out like me, you know, Mario Lanza, Caruso, the great Enrico, I would have thought it was a tenor, you know, one of them. So I didn't see the bloke come in. I'm stood at the bar with Brian. Brian had met me at the club. We were having a couple of pints. The club is packed with hairy-ass scaffolders, riggers, fitters, tarmac workers. You know, not a decent face amongst them. Also. So, George on the organ, Bill on the drums. And it starts. "Good afternoon, gentlemen." Everybody's reading the papers, you know. No, Sunday dinner times was shite. As regarding an artist would tell you that. Any artist would tell you that. The music starts. Bum 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 bum. "Good afternoon, gentlemen. First on stage, before the bingo, before the raffle, before Chubbs Brown, I'm bringing you the great Enrico. Put your hands together." Not one clap. Comes on, you could hear the hairs on your fucking legs growing. So he goes to me, apparently he was from Glasgow. Well, all looking up at the stage. Unbeknown to me, he was a magic act. And unbeknown to me, before the show started, he must have gone out in the audience and give him props, you know. He said, he'd done a few things with cars. He said, "Has anybody got an apple?" And this bloke shouted out, "What? Have you got an apple?" He's nodding at him, because you obviously gave him an apple earlier on. And the bloke shouted, "I've had it." You know, it was like, he'd had half his act. So, apparently these magic acts, they push a fiver inside the apple, you see, and they do it in the dressing room, and then they break the apple, and there's a fiver there, you know, and he marks the hours. I don't know, though. That's Paul Daniels, anyway. So this bloke shouts, "I've had it." He went, "Oh, you're a bastard." You know, and he said, "Has anybody got an egg?" And another bloke shouted out, "You know fucking well we haven't. You'd have got it 10 minutes ago." Well, this was just getting so funny. This was just so, you know, I'm stood at the bar with Brian, and we got the giggles at first over the apple. Right, then he starts this fire eating, like strippers do. He's dipping this like drumstick in this material, and flames are coming out, and he's and he's burning himself. I could smell the hairs on his arms, burning. Dun, 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 dun. And some clever bastard in the balcony, because there was a small balcony in the TUC. It was only about 12 feet from the main tables and chairs. He must have said to his mates, watch this. He went, "Oh, Jock, give us a light." And by now, this Enrico is totally pissed off, fed up. And he dips his tongue and he went, and this fucking flame come out. Fucking scorched this bloke's hair and his eyebrows. He went from a white lad to fucking Al Jolson within about seconds. Well, the club by now is in hysterics. You know, I mean, it just wasn't practiced. It was just total ad-lib. And this bloke is like on fire. He's just scorched. Well, his mates were pissing themselves laughing. So anyway, it was then they had the raffle. And I'd gone into the dressing room to get me gear on. And there's a bang on the dressing room door. And this fella stood behind me, this Enrico. I said, I tell you what, mate, if you bottled that act, you'll be the biggest star this country's ever seen, because that was so funny. And I opened the dressing room door, and there's about 6 lads stood there. So this lad whose hair's on fire, he stood there with his lads. And the steam's coming off his fucking head, and his eyebrows have... And he went, "Is that bastard in, Chubby?" I went, he's just getting changed, mate." He said, "I want to see him." I said, he's just getting changed." He said, "Look, I don't want any trouble with you. I want to see that fucking bastard." Oh, and he was, did that a drink, you see? I went, no. I said, "Hang on." So I said, "Just a minute." I just get, and I shut the door and I said, "You better get out." He said, "What?" I said, "You better get out the back door now." I said, "There's 6 lads here, you're going to knock fuck out here." And I've got hold of the door. After a couple of seconds, I heard him say, "Let him in." So I didn't look behind me, you see. And I thought, let him in. They'll kill you. They'll kill you. He went, let the bar get the key. And I thought, he must be a fucking hard case, this. So I opened the door, and these lads come in. But I didn't know that in his second spot, he works with a python, 20-foot python. And he's got this snake round his neck, and he's got the head in his hands, see, like that. Have you ever seen anybody lose the bottle? Anybody's going to kill you, but then realise you're Jeff Capes. They realise you're Mike Tyson and go, "Sorry, mate." He come in, this lad, and he's full of it. He's full of it. He went, "Oh, you." He said, "Is that a snake?" And the snake said, and Jock said, "Aye, it is." He went, "What? A real fucker?" I was behind the door. He went, yeah. "Do you want to stroke it?" He went, "No, you're all right." And all these lads were like backing towards the door. And he said, "That's not fucking funny," and ran out of the door. So when he went out the door, I said to this fella, I said, "Where was that snake?" He said, "It was in that basket." I said, "You twat, I've been sat in that fucking basket the last 20 minutes. So not only did the blokes run out the dressing room, I was behind them. Hey. But what a funny day that was. My face was aching laughing.
The fat bastard was on form again.
Classic Chubby Brown.
You have to go back to the early 70s, and I was with the band, and the band always asked me to introduce the numbers, so that gave me a little bit of confidence to stand on a stage and to talk to an audience. Hey, I tell you what, the fucking women drivers here are very polite, aren't they? Just pulled in front of one out there, and their hand gesture indicated to me she wanted to wank us off. And then when I started getting single work up and down the country, obviously the clubs, which is why I feel sorry for young comics today, they've got nowhere to die. But in them days, you know, it was rough, it was hard. But there again, if you want to be somewhere, you have to stick at it. And I was getting sent to these places, and suddenly I get a phone call. They're looking for stand-ups to do opportunity knocks and stuff like that, you know, junior show time. So I applied, and I went right down to Birmingham on the train. We all met in a room, and some of them comics are still around today, like Jimmy Carroll. Well, you know, the Little and Large, people like that, they were all in this room. Roy Walker, all looking for auditions. And I was doing okay, and I sat on the piano. I only knew a few chords. And during the song I was doing, the lid came down on my fingers. They thought that was part of the act, which it wasn't. I wasn't a good piano player anyway, so it made a good excuse. But I told a story about a fella who only had one ass. Now, everybody in the studio fell about laughing. And after the audition, one of the assistant producers come up to see me and said, Roy, you know, you were really funny, but obviously you've spoilt yourself by saying ass. I said, all right, okay. So that was the end of that career. Oh, we'll rent this shit house tonight, won't we?
He's just one of those comedians, like, you just can't beat him because he's patchwork quilt, basically.
It started it was the early 70s, and I'll remember it as if it was yesterday, and it was 2 days ago. I was in Leicester. I was doing a club in Leicester, and we had a load of glue sniffers at the front, a load of idiots, blokes shouting, your mother's a cunt, you know, stuff like that, really offensive. He could give it, but he couldn't take it. And I was saying things to him like, I bet you when you were born, your father took that bucket of shit back to the sewerage farm. Are you wearing a baseball cap so you know which end to wipe, you ugly twat? And he jumped up and threw a pint over us. So I had to stand there for the next hour with my bollocks sticking to my legs. So it was about 2 or 3 days later, I was at my sister's club. I say my sister's club, she was a barmaid. And she was wiping the bar down with these towels, these bar towels. And I said, have you got any spare of those? Because I'll buy some off you. And George, who was my guitarist in the band, his mother, bless her, was a seamstress. So I took this big pile of towels. I said, can you make me a suit out of this lot? And that was the first suit. After the bar towels, I decided, I passed one of these draper shops. I saw all these coloured curtains in the window. I thought, you know, that'd be a good idea. I bought a load of material and sewed it together, made sort of an eider-down, and then made a suit out of it. And it worked. And over the last 40 years, God, I remember one time I had 19 suits, but then people would come along and say, can we have your suit for charity? We're going to raffle it off, you know, wherever. I've got about 3 or 4 left now. But it's lighter, it's easier to move in, and it's famous.
Iconic. That's who Roy Chubby Brown is.
You know, a lot of old comedians used to model themselves on other comedians. You know, people said, because of the suit, are you trying to be Max Miller? No, I wasn't trying to be. I didn't even know who Max Miller was when I started off. I'd never heard of Max Miller. I mean, you look at comedians today, they say, Lee Evans is the new Norman Wisdom, Jimmy Carr's the new Bob Monkhouse. But there's nobody like me, is there? You know, I'm just an oddball. Not because of the material, not because of the act I do, just the way I dress. I mean,
Do you know at the last count there was 27 Chubby Brown impersonators? They're even in Australia and South Africa and Canada now. So that can't be bad, can it?
Inappropriate, brilliant, vulgar and hilarious.
I thought it was fabulous.
Absolutely fantastic, first class Chubby Brown.
You could get £15 as a clean comic, and you could get £75 to £100 to be a blue comic. And when you've got a young family, you've got a wife and a young family, there's no competition, is there? You go for the money. I've never, ever had stars in my eyes. I'm never that type of person. I've always just wanted to earn a living. And, you know, I mean, I said to them, I'll stand on stage and wank off for £1,000. It's up to you. So they said, right, tomorrow night you're booked at the Wankers Club. Well, according to my wife, sex is better on holiday. Yeah, that's the text I've just got from her in Benidorm. I think political correctness has ruined our business, really. People are too sensitive now. Where's the humour gone? You know, it's just ridiculous. But, you know, you get these left-wingers and the political rec brigade coming straight onto the bound. Anything said, they're always trying to down you. Instead, it's a laugh. It's a giggle, it's a laugh. I'm not political. I'm not racist. I'm not homophobic. I can't be bothered with all that.
I mean, a lot of people don't get the humour. A lot of people are against the humour, but at the end of the day, it's all tongue-in-cheek. It's not who he is, you know what I mean? It's what he thinks makes people happy and makes people laugh.
I don't know. I think if you've got time to be that sensitive, I'm not at the Houses of Parliament shouting my mouth off and saying, hey, I don't agree with this now. I couldn't care less. You know, if I had £1 for every time somebody's called me a big, ugly, fat, honky bastard, how much money do you think I'd have? You know, it's what you do. It's a joke. I know I'm a cunt, Anna. You know, if you talk to Frankie Boyle or if you talk to any of the controversial comics, they'll probably be able to defend themselves better than I can, because I don't go into that, you know. I mean, sometimes all comedians have to edit themselves. Sometimes there's jokes about sick children. I don't like to crack those jokes. There's jokes about cancer. I don't want to crack them jokes. And shut that fucking door.
I've been a fan of Chubby Brown ever since I was about 7-year-old or something like that.
It's about that.
My audience have definitely grown up with me. I mean, the times I get the stage door and the kids are saying, do you know how long I've waited to see you? My dad used to play your tapes all the time. My mother thought you were disgusting. Get that off. You know, but the kids love it. And then after all these years, they've had a chance to come and see. We call them chubby virgins.
I've waited 20 years to see this, and he didn't disappoint.
It really didn't. I loved his vulgarity and just being really blunt and rude. It was my sense of humour.
It's lovely. It's kept me going, hasn't it? This is 47 years I've been doing this job, and they still come to see me. So there must be something there that they like.
Phenomenal. You know, he's not like anybody else out there.
Oh, I thought it was fabulous, yeah. You should have a summer season every day. It's first, I've got all these DVDs at home.
I think after all this time, and after 30 DVDs, I think I'm calling it a day with the DVDs. I'll still go on tour because I don't know anything else. Yeah, that's the only thing I can do, and I enjoy it. I enjoy making people laugh. And that's the bottom line, really.
Oh, I didn't enjoy that just shit. I think he's got a few miles on the fucking clock yet. Absolutely brilliant.
Excellent. Hilarious.
With your fans, I mean, they put you on the map. I do know comics who say, oh, I can't be bothered with all that. You know, oh, I don't sign autographs enough. And I do know comics, which will be nameless. But I couldn't be like that. They've gladly given me a living. My wife and family have lived off their immoral earnings, should we say, for years. Pull it tight. Pull it tight. Your vagina were on it. You know, you meet these people, they all have a story to tell. We all have ailments, you know, and as you go on over the years, and I get people saying to me, do you know, I've seen you 100 times. I said, well, do me a favour. Put me suit on and fucking go on stage and let me go and have a pint.
You fat bastard!
Best I've seen. Brilliant. Best
I've never seen him before, but brilliant. Spot on.
I've born in a rough council estate, and it's always been with me, and I'm always aware of that. That's what I love about you lot. You're just like me, you're fucking rough, aren't you? I hit on an idea, And I'm not saying I have a gift. I must have a gift for making people laugh, otherwise they wouldn't come back. But other than that, yeah, I love my job, and that's the bottom line, really.
I would recommend anybody come see Roy anytime, because he's brilliant. He's upstanding, he's been going for years. Still a class. Still a class.
Want your name on it?
Yeah, please, to Gareth. Don't hang up that helmet just yet.
No.
Just get it
Yes. I can't see me ever walking away from comedy because it's everything I know. The best thing I know. It's what I love doing. I'm on the left, Chubby's on the right. I always said, if I pack in, it's because I can't get to the venue. And then, because you always get the clever dicks. Get yourself an helicopter. Fuck off. you know, if I can't get to a venue, then I'll have to pack in.
If he ever quits, then it'll be a downer for all the comedians. I mean, he's just so good. You cannot beat him.
You know, thank you doesn't seem enough when you're talking about your fans, because after all, they're the ones who's paid your wages. And I don't like asking people for money either. And when we do these charities, which we've done loads of, I try to give them something back. I'd hate to be just saying, oh, give us. We need this, we need that and the other. Life's hard enough as it is. So what I do is I make tapes and cassettes and that. And the profit of it, I always give to the cancer hospital, because between me and you, I've had malaria, Bell's palsy, which is a small stroke. I've had cancer, and I've just had some of my stomach removed. So, and I'm still here. So obviously I'm meant to be here. Otherwise, I'd be brown bread now. So that's why I keep going back. And I keep, I love that's my thing. Charities, working, being happy is my thing. I just want to be happy.
Fucking awesome fat bastard!